Hey, I'm here to tell you about a can of spray paint. And if that doesn't grab you, well, this isn't the right video for you. Stick around though, and you might discover a new way to read the world. New York City, 1971. The mayor slaps down $1 million, just the first slice of what'll end up being 300 million, to wipe the trains clean. The crime? One word, fat, bubbly letters, rolling through every borough, winking at anyone who felt invisible. Officials called it vandalism. We call it a voice. That same year, a hip-hop crew called the Furious Five rapped about it, giving a can of spray paint the same weight as a microphone. But most people saw this epidemic differently. To Mayor Lindsay, it was a threat to the social order. To the transit system, it was a multi-million-dollar headache. And to a few people, it was a business opportunity. But to most New York teenagers, it was a blank canvas. Before filters, before hashtags, before a tweet could circle the planet in 5 seconds, teenagers with a couple of borrowed cans figured out how to speak without saying a word. They hopped fences, played hide-and-seek with security cameras, and spelled their names 3 stories tall, because no one else was spelling them anywhere. This isn't a side note in the graffiti story. It's the story of kids who didn't own microphones turning the whole city into a loudspeaker. Our story begins a few years before the Great Train Scrubbing. Back then, Philly was still all but ignoring its own budding artists. But in the summer of 1967, 15-year-old Cornbread found a wall that wouldn't mind a little decoration. His crush, Cynthia, wasn't answering the radio dedications, so he wrote "Cornbread Loves Cynthia" across the local jet hangar, big enough for the entire neighborhood to see. People snickered, cops rolled their eyes, yet by the end of the month, every wall asked the same question. Who's Cornbread, and why does he get to talk? That little ripple hits New York a year later. Street gangs have always scribbled "keep out" warnings, block by block. Then a messenger named Taki183 starts signing his name and street number on every subway line he rides. Delivery guys start noticing. Receptionists start noticing. The New York Times finally asks, who is this kid? The answer is simple. He's a mailman without a badge. The same summer, the city declares its war on graffiti. Hundreds more kids decide the siding on a train is the only public square they can afford rent on. Picture the Lexington Avenue 4 train bursting out of the tunnel into sunlight. Every car's a carnival. Yellow halos around blue names, red arrows cutting through black outlines. The MTA calls it property damage. Commuters call it the first art show they didn't need a ticket for. On any given night, 7 million New Yorkers ride these rolling billboards, sleep-deprived strap hangers reading what some kid thinks they should eat for breakfast. Forget Madison Avenue. This subway system is advertising straight from the heart. In 1975, photographer Martha Cooper starts writing the same lines with a camera. She's not hunting art. She's gathering proof that kids in half-burned South Bronx tenements are still alive and dreaming. Those photos turn into subway art, and overnight kids in Paris, São Paulo, and Tokyo learn that if Phase 2 can turn the 5 train into a moving gallery, their own walls can talk too. Graffiti stops being a New York budget line. It becomes every city's bulletin board for the unheard. But how do you start a conversation with a blank wall? Well, stencils. For decades, European kids had practiced tagging shop windows with a friend's name, just a splash of color on a grimy storefront. Now kids in New York use the same trick on the city's blankest canvas. They bring aerosol to the party. At first, they just add color to the tags. Soon they're adding lines and shadows, filling out shapes and creating characters. Quickly, though, the buff squad arrives. Now let's fast forward a bit. It's 1983. The MTA unveils stainless steel trains, harder to paint, easier to bleach. They add razor wire, guard dogs, whole buff squads who erase fresh paint before breakfast. By 1989, the wild-style trains are almost gone. Silence doesn't last. The same kids simply walk upstairs and pick the walls at ground level. And now they've got bigger lungs. Lady Pink paints heroines ruling skylines that never invited them. Keith Haring chalks glowing babies on empty subway ad frames, flipping corporate billboards into public confessions. Jean-Michel Basquiat starts as Samo, scribbling cryptic poems on Soho storefronts. 4 years later, those same words sell for 10 grand a pop canvases, while the cops keep washing them off brick. Same old pattern. Plug one hole, the voices just find another frequency. Fast forward again to the 1990s. Walls in Bristol, England wake up with rats wearing helmets, lovers hugging through riot shields. All signed Banksy. Quick stencils, repeatable, impossible to miss. Suddenly, nice suburban shoppers are asking the same question graffiti heads have always known. Who owns the space we look at all day? When the city council scrubs off his mural of a maid sweeping dirt under a curtain, the before and after selfies go viral. Within a week, they invite him back to paint a legal mural. Graffiti flips from crime to commodity. London galleries auction spray-painted canvases for 6 figures, while councils elsewhere still hand out fines for the same act on public walls. The contradiction echoes across the Atlantic like a bass line you can't unhear. Today, a legal mural in Wynwood, Miami buys the artist a plane ticket and boutique hotel. An illegal tag on the next block buys a court date. Still, the walls keep talking. After George Floyd's death, Minneapolis storefronts become an overnight gallery of grief and rage. In Hong Kong, umbrellas and gas mask stencils bloom at dusk, gray-washed by dawn. Every fresh generation learns the same lesson. When official channels go mute, the sidewalk becomes the comments section. Museums run graffiti tours. Sneaker brands hire street artists to make shoes feel dangerous. Step off the guided path, though, and you'll still spot a name so big you can't scroll past it. The need to be seen, heard, remembered, that's older than spray paint and newer than whichever app dropped last week. History books like to shrink graffiti to a footnote about vandalism. The real story? Kids who couldn't buy billboards bought a can of paint and rented the sky instead. If you've ever felt skipped over, you already know why the walls matter. So where does the story go from here? That depends on you. How will you tell the next chapter? The walls are listening. Maybe they're waiting for you to spell it out. Thanks for watching. While you're still here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that explore the many facets of creativity. And remember, if you ever need inspiration, look no further than the walls around you. They've got a lot to say if you know where to look.